We are moving on to the next chapter, that is chapter number 18, Financial Statements of Sole Proprietorship Business. By this time you would be knowing the meaning of sole proprietorship. You would have studied in business studies. So what is sole proprietorship business? That means the organization or the firm which is owned by a single owner. That means that is the meaning of sole proprietorship. Owner and employee would be the one and the same person. So now we need to know what are the financial statements prepared by these sole proprietorship organizations. So first financial statement, actually you have learned the headings, though you don't know the meaning of trading P&L and all, you have learned all these terms in the first chapter. So the first financial statement is trading and profit and loss account. The second one is balance sheet. So we will see now in detail what is the meaning of trading and profit and loss account, or in short we will refer it as trading and P&L account. Then balance sheet is the next or last financial statement. Then trial balance is there before trading P&L, which we finished already. So now we will see why we are preparing this trading and profit and loss account. So you give the heading, chapter name and chapter heading you write, then you write this financial statements of sole proprietorship. That means chapter name itself you write. And the first one is, the first financial statement is trading and profit and loss account, or in short you can refer it as P&L account. Understood? So this is the first financial statement. The next one is balance sheet. So now we will discuss this trading and profit and loss account. Okay, the trading and profit and loss account, actually it is a combined account. You need not separate it into two accounts. This is one single account. Now when you do this trading and profit and loss account, what you have to do first is, as usual, all expenses will be written on the debit side, all incomes will be written on the credit side. But now we have to make a distinction between direct expenses and indirect expenses. So first we will see the format of trading and profit and loss account, but not together. First you write trading account. Later I will show you how to combine this trading and profit and loss account. So trading account is prepared to know the gross profit or gross loss of a firm. You need to know whether the firm is earning a profit or a loss. That is the ultimate objective of every business organization. So we need to know whether it is making a profit or a loss, and here you have to specify it as gross profit. I will explain you what is gross profit. So in trading account you will be asked, or you will be finding out whether the firm is earning a gross profit or whether the firm is incurring a gross loss. So this is the purpose of preparing the very first financial statement. So if you get a question like what is trading account, what you can write is, it is the first financial statement prepared by a firm. That means prepared by a sole proprietorship organization. The next sentence what you can write is, it is prepared to find the gross profit or a gross loss. Okay. Now we will study the meaning, we will study the format of trading account. You need to draw 4 columns, that is particulars, amount, particulars, amount. Now on the debit side, the starting item is to opening stock. This is the first item which you have to write. To opening stock, that means stock in the beginning of the year. So with that item you have to start your trading account, and that should be written on the debit side. Okay. Next what you have to write is to purchases. and in a column you must write the figure, because there is something which you have to deduct from this, that is purchases returned. Understood? Purchases less purchases returned. You know that purchases returned means first you would have purchased from the seller, later you would have returned due to defective goods, or they supplied us substandard goods, or because of any kind of reasons. These kind of reasons you would have returned the purchased item. So it's called purchases return. You are familiar with this. Purchases return, also known as return outwards. So this return outwards must be deducted from purchases. Next, what you have to write on the debit side is to direct expenses. To direct expenses. So you need to know what all will come under direct expenses. I'll write the examples first, to direct expense, then below that you write the items like carriage or freight or cartage. All these are same actually, the transportation charges. But you have to specify one term, that is inwards. Carriage inwards, freight inwards, cartage inwards, all these are direct. Then you have to write second one, wages. Then we have power and fuel. These direct expense you have to study very carefully, because only direct expenses will be taken in trading account. Then this is factory rent. Factory rent, then duty on purchases, all these examples are given on page number 18.13, so you can just go through that. Then we have royalties, and you can write consumable stores also here. Okay, so these are the direct expenses. Now we'll see what is the meaning of direct expense. Direct expenses means expenses directly incurred on production or on manufacturing. That is the meaning of direct. Directly incurred on production or manufacturing. So all these are examples. Or else what we can say is expenses directly incurred on the goods purchased from the place of production till the place of business. If you are not producing yourself, that means finished goods you will purchase and then you will resell. Most probably that will be your that will be your business usually. Then there are some firms which produce themselves and then they will resell. Okay, so usually what we discuss is those firms which buy finished goods and then they resell these finished goods. So for them, direct expenses means expenses incurred on goods purchased from the place of production till the place of business. That means the transportation expenses or any other duties which they have to pay. Duty means the customs duty when they purchase or when they import any item or any product. So all these directly incurred on production or directly incurred on manufacturing, or when you purchase as such finished goods, during that process what all expenses you incur, all these will come under direct. Okay, it must be directly related. So these are the examples. Carriage, freight inwards, just now we discussed, when you transport the goods from the place of production to your place, to your factory, that is carriage inwards, or you will have to incur some transportation expenses. So that will come as carriage inwards, or you can call it as shipping charges, that is freight inwards, or cartage and carriage means the same. But you have to specify one term here, that is only only inwards will be written here. Inwards means which is related to purchases. If you have an item like carriage outwards, in your question if you see carriage outwards, it should not be written in trading account. It should be written in the next account, that is profit and loss account. That means it is an indirect expenses. Only direct expenses can be written here. Understood? That's what you have to remember always. Write only direct expenses on the trading account. The next item here is wages. Wages, again wages means the amount paid to the factory workers. Okay, so wages is directly related to production, or they are engaged in production, the workers. So it is directly related to production. You can write it as direct expense. But instead of wages, if you get an item like salary, wages and salary, from a layman's point of view, both are same, isn't it? Usually we also refer sometimes as wages, sometimes as salary. We use these two terms interchangeably. But actually there is a difference in accounting point of view, that is wages means amount paid to factory workers, whereas salary is considered as the amount paid to office staff. Understood? Amount paid to employees or office staff is considered as salary. So that is indirectly related. Office staff is not directly related to production. Only the workers are engaged in production, factory workers. Understood? So wages or the amount paid to factory workers, which is termed as wages, it's direct. Whereas salary is the amount paid to office staff, which is indirect. Understood? That you have to remember. Then the next one is power and fuel. Okay, that you know, power and fuel, you need it for the working of your machines. So that is related to production, so it is direct expense. Here also there is a difference between power and electricity. See, power we considered as direct expense, isn't it? But electricity will be considered as indirect. What we are assuming is power is something which we need for the working of machines or which we need for the factory. Okay. Electricity means which we need for working of your office building. So both are considered as separate items. Power you write it on trading account debit side, considering it as direct expense. Whereas electricity, you must assume it as related to office building, not factory. So consider electricity as indirect expense. Understood? Then one more point I have to tell you, that is we discussed wages. No need to write this, just listen. Wages, we know that it is direct. Salary, we know that it is indirect. Then if you get an item like wages and salary, you must take it as direct. That means you must focus on the first term given. If it is given like wages and salary, consider it as direct. Whereas if it is given the reverse, salary and wages, then you must take it as indirect. Understood? So you have to see the first word and according to its nature, you have to take it as either direct or indirect. Understood? So the next item is factory rent. That means rent you have to pay on the factory building. So it's again related to factory or production. So direct. Duty on purchases. Duty means, first I told you, when you import goods or when you purchase goods, sometimes you will have to pay customs duty, excise duty and all. So all these will form part of direct because it's on purchases. Okay. Then royalty means it is the amount paid for getting an exclusive right to use an asset or to use patents actually. Patents means, see, a person will be or the creator of that product, the person or the firm who developed that product will be having an exclusive right over that product, over the use of that product. That's called patent right. So if you want to get the patent right, you will have to pay them an amount, and that amount is known as royalty. Best example is, suppose you are the publisher, okay, publisher of books, and if you want to publish the book of an author, you have to pay him some amount. Why? To get the right to sell his books or to distribute his books. So as a publisher, you will have to pay that author a certain amount. That is called royalty. Okay. Again, that is related to that manufacturing. That is why it is direct expense. The last one is consumable stores. That means the additional expenses which we incur, which we means the firm, okay, which we incur. What is the meaning of incurring? Incurring means we will have to spend that. So which we incur to keep the machine in right condition. We are using so many machines in a factory. So to keep all these machines in its proper condition, you will have to spend or you will have to incur additional expenses like engine oil, or you will have to put some grease, you will have to use cotton waste. So all these are additional expenses which is related to your machine or production. So it is direct. So that's the meaning of consumable stores. So all these direct expenses will be written on the debit side of trading account. Then credit side, what you have to write is, so debit side, what all items we wrote? We wrote opening stock, purchases, less returns, then final figure in the outer column, then all direct expenses one by one. You won't be getting all items in a question, understood? But even then, you should be able to identify what all will come under direct, what all will come under indirect. Now on the credit side, the first item what you have to write is sales, and in a column you must write the figure, because there would be something like sales returns. What is sales returns? It is also known as return inwards. Write within brackets this less item. Here also you write within brackets, that is purchases less returns. Then the last item on the credit side is, only two items are there, buy, closing stock. Okay, so basically what are we doing in trading account? The sales or the incomes are compared with the purchases or the expenses. So this is just like matching principle. This trading account is done on the basis of matching principle. We are comparing the revenue with that of the expenses. Revenue from sale of goods with that of expenses you incurred on sale of goods. Okay. So finally, now the account is over, trading account is over. You have to learn this format. You must start always the account with the opening stock. The next item must be purchases. You must write in this order itself. Don't write closing stock first on the credit side. This is the format you have to follow. Now you will just balance this account just like balancing a ledger account. You have to add your credit sides and debit sides. If the shortage is on the debit side, you must write here to gross profit carry down, C/D. We used to write this one when we prepared ledger. The same thing we have to write here. Then you can write the total. Okay. This one for you to understand, if you want you can write, but only after finishing the format, not in between the format, okay, that wages and salary. So to gross profit carry down, this would be the balancing figure. If shortage is on debit side, you must write gross profit carry down, or if the shortage is on the credit side, you must write here by gross loss carry down, by gross loss carry down. Understood? So either you will get a profit, gross profit, or you will get a gross profit. So this is how you have to prepare the trading account, and we are doing this to get the or to know whether it is a gross profit or a gross loss. And in this account we will be considering only direct expenses. Understood? Now we are moving on to the next account, that is the P&L account. P&L account, you need not draw the format, we will just learn it from the textbook. Because it's not like your trading account, there is no specific order to be followed. You can write all indirect expenses in whatever order you want. Okay. So after you finish the trading account, when we do a comprehensive question means like an essay question which you get for 8 marks, where all topics will be asked, like they will ask you to do trading account, P&L account and the balance sheet. So that is a whole question, that means a question which comprises all topics of this chapter. You will be getting such questions. So that is called comprehensive question. While you do comprehensive question, you don't have to separate trading and profit and loss account. You don't have to draw a line like this. No need to close like that. You can just start from gross profit. Here you have written gross profit carry down no. After that, as usual, you have to write the totals. Then what will you do? This gross profit carry down will be taken to the opposite side. That means it will come on the credit side. We will write is by gross profit brought down. You remember how we did in ledger accounts? Same like that. So we will write by gross profit brought down, and the same figure, this gross profit, we will write here. So from there onwards, we will start the P&L or profit and loss account. Understood? No need to close your account like this when we do that combined account. Okay. So I will just show you the format of P&L account. You take page number 18.23. Okay, 18.23. Profit and loss account for the year ended. That is how you have to write the headings and all. For trading account also you write that. I think I have just written trading account. You write the heading as trading account for the year ended and put some dots. There will be writing the date like 31st March 2019 or 2020, whatever given in the question. So did you see the format of P&L? They are starting with by gross profit, and they have written like transferred from trading account and all. When you write, you simply write by gross profit brought down. So from there onwards, we'll start the P&L. Now, in case you got a gross loss here, you must start P&L account like to gross loss brought down. Okay. So either of these two you have to write as the starting item. Then all indirect expenses will be written on the debit side. All indirect incomes will be written on the credit side. So what is indirect expenses? Which is not directly related to production or manufacturing. Examples we learned already. One is salary. Then we discussed electricity expenses, isn't it? So salary, then salary and wages. Then electricity expense, then rest we can look into the format. They have given rent. If nothing is mentioned, rent is indirect. Whereas here we wrote one direct expense, that is factory rent. When they specify it as factory rent, you can take it as direct or it is indirect expense. Then stationery and printing, postage and courier, then telephone expenses, insurance expenses, depreciation, bad debts. See, depreciation, bad debts, all these are kind of losses. Losses also will be written where? On the debit side of profit and loss account. Understood? Then all indirect incomes on the credit side like rent received, discount received, commission earned, interest received, bad debts recovered. Bad debts recovered is also a kind of income, but it's indirect. Okay. So you go through each and every item. You should have an idea. No need to by heart. Just read the items. Okay. What all will come under indirect expense. Just read it. Similarly, this you can study. Direct expense you have only 4-5 items that you study. This particular format you just read and understand. Okay. So all indirect incomes on the credit side, indirect expenses on the debit side. Once you finish writing that, as usual, just like we found the balance of your trading account, you will have to find the balance of P&L. So you have to add your credit sides and debit sides, find the difference. Either you will get a net profit or you will be getting a net loss. Okay, here you got a gross profit or a gross loss. P&L account you will be getting either a net profit or a net loss. Understood? So that is how you have to do the profit and loss account. So the first financial statement is trading and profit and loss account. The next one is you give the heading balance sheet. Okay, P&L, if you want you can copy it into your notebook. Okay, you write that at least once, you write the entire items. You write the format of P&L account in your notebook so that you will get an idea regarding the items also. Next, after that, once you finish your P&L format that you copy from the textbook, then you give the heading balance sheet. This term also familiar to you, the heading would be familiar to you, balance sheet. Okay, and the format will be like balance sheet as at, okay, that we'll learn later. You just write balance sheet now, the meaning we'll discuss. Balance sheet means it is also known as position statement. Okay, balance sheet also known as position statement because it shows the financial position. How it is showing the financial position? It shows the balances of assets and liabilities. So this is the meaning of balance sheet. It is a position statement and it shows the financial position. How it shows? It is a statement which shows the balances of assets and liabilities of a firm as at a particular date. Usually the balance sheet heading will be like balance sheet as at the year ending, we'll write 31st March 2019 or 2020. So it's prepared as on or as at that particular date. That is year ending date. That's why it is called financial statements, or these financial statements are also known as final accounts because it is prepared at the end of the year. Okay. So this is the meaning of balance sheet. The meaning also you have to write in your notebook. Then we'll learn the format of balance sheet. You give the heading balance sheet asset. Here we'll be writing the date and the format is liabilities, amount, assets, amount. So all liabilities will be written on the left side, assets on the credit side. Be very careful when you write the headings. Don't write the reverse. Liabilities should come first. On the left side it should be the liabilities. Here you can write the assets. Liabilities amount, assets amount. Now we can write all liabilities here. You have liability like capital, no, but capital it's an internal liability that you can write directly here. Write the figure in the inner column. With capital, we know that if there is a profit for a firm, that will be added with capital. If it is a loss, we less it. Then if there is drawings, we have to deduct it from capital. All these we have done under accounting equation. So when you write capital on liability side, you have to add net profit. You have to adjust these two items. Add your net profit. If it is net loss, deduct it. Then deduct your drawings also. Then should we add gross profit again? No need, because when you do net profit, see how you are getting the net profit while you do the P&L account. And P&L account, you are starting with gross profit or with a gross loss. So automatically that figure is getting adjusted in net profit. Again, no need to write gross profit. Understood? It's included in this net profit or a net loss. So capital figure, this is how you have to write. Then all other liabilities you can write like bank loan. Then you have items like the format of balance sheet is given on page 18.34. That also you need not by heart, just read it, that's enough. Then we have reserve fund. Then employees provident fund. Then bank overdraft, bills payable, creditors. Bank overdraft, that is OD, or you write the entire term overdraft. Overdraft in short referred as OD. Bills payable. Then creditors, or we can call them as sundry creditors. Okay. Sundry creditors. These are the items on the liability side. Capital loan and all you are familiar with. Then reserve fund means it's just like a provision. How will you keep a provision aside? By taking some amount out of your profit. Isn't it? Same like that. Reserve also, taking some amount out of your profit, keeping it aside for meeting the emergencies or for meeting future needs. The difference between provision and reserve is that reserve can be used for any purpose. Whereas provision means it's like provision for bad debts or provision for depreciation. The specific purpose will be mentioned always, and it can be used only for that particular purpose. That's the basic difference between reserves and provision. Both are liabilities. Okay. Then employees provident fund or PF, you would have heard at least. PF or provident fund means the amount given to employees at the time of their retirement. So from our point of view, that is firm's point of view, this EPF, employees provident fund, is payable to the employees. It is liability for you. Then bank overdraft, you know, withdrawing more than what is there in your account. So again it's a liability. Then bills payable, creditors, you know the meaning. So all these liabilities we are writing on the liability side. Then all assets we'll write on the asset side. Like you can write goodwill. That means all fixed assets we'll write first. Patents, then premises, that is business premises, that's the building and its surroundings, plant and machinery, all fixed assets you can write. Then all kind of current assets also we'll write, that is investments, loose tools again fixed asset, the tools and equipments. Then loans given, not loans taken, loans given is an asset for you. Okay, loans given or loans advanced you can write. That means we have given a loan to some other firm. It's receivable for us. Receivables are always assets. Then sundry debtors. Bills receivable. Cash at bank, cash in hand. Okay, this is the format. Again, you need not by heart it, just understand or just go through the items. After that, we'll add the balance sheet, debit and credit sides. Actually, balance sheet is not having debit and credit side. What you have to say is the liabilities and asset side. Okay, it's not having a debit and credit side. You have to total the balance sheet. It's not like other accounts. Balance sheet should tally finally, because this is the last financial statement you prepare, and these two accounts or these two figures must be the same, or else meaning is there are some mistakes in your question, in your problem. Okay, in your problem means in what you have done, not in the question. So balance sheet should tally finally, that means both figures must be same. There won't be any balance in the balance sheet. Why it is called balance sheet? It shows the balances of assets and liabilities. Okay. Now just observe the figures, observe the items I have written in the balance sheet. I started with capital on the liability side, and on the asset side I have written fixed assets like goodwill. You can write all intangible assets here. Goodwill, trademarks, patents, all these will come here. Okay, so all fixed assets we have written. Then here I have written the non-current liabilities or the long-term items I have written. So both sides I have written the long-term items. Here I have written long-term assets or fixed assets. Here it is long-term liabilities or non-current liabilities. Then I have moved on to, slowly I have moved on to these items like bank overdraft, bills payable, creditors, all these are current liabilities or short-term liabilities. Here also, once I finished the fixed assets, I have moved on to the current items like debtors, bills receivable and all. So what you have to do is, while you prepare the balance sheet, you have to either follow the order of permanence or you have to follow the order of liquidity. So you write below this order of permanence, and then the second one is order of liquidity. Order of permanence, as the name indicates, permanent items will be written first. That means liability side you will write all non-current liabilities. First on the asset side you will be writing all fixed assets. Okay. You can interchange the order in between the fixed assets. If you want, you write machinery first, then you write investments, then you write goodwill, there is no problem. Only thing is, write fixed assets first, then you move on to current assets. Here also you start with capital or long-term liabilities, then you move on to current liabilities. Okay, if you are following the order of permanence, and make sure this cash at bank and cash in hand to write at last. Okay, you have to remember, because cash in hand is the most liquid asset. Liquid asset means it can be easily converted into cash. Cash in hand is already in the form of cash. So you don't have to convert it. So these two must be written always at last. Cash at bank and cash in hand, if you are following the order of permanence. The second order we referred as order of liquidity. That means liquid items will be written first, like liquid assets and current liabilities. So it will be the reverse. So you don't have to draw the format again. You just write these two headings there, order of permanence and order of liquidity. Liquidity means the facility with which assets can be converted into cash. So the most liquid asset is cash in hand, because that is already in the form of cash. Then the second most liquid asset is cash at bank. Okay, that can be easily converted into cash. So that's the meaning of order of permanence and order of liquidity. Now two more terms you have to learn under this balance sheet portion, that is grouping and the other one is marshalling. Okay, it's marshalling. Grouping and marshalling. Grouping means putting items of similar nature under a common head. Like all current assets will be grouped under this second head or current assets head. On the asset side. Okay. Similarly, all current liabilities will be grouped under this current liabilities head. Then we have fixed assets and fixed liabilities or non-current liabilities. This is called grouping. Items of similar nature will be put under common heads. Okay. Then marshalling means arrangement of assets and liabilities in a particular order. You have to either follow the order of permanence. Permanence spelling is this. Just copy this. Permanence and the order of liquidity. Okay, you have to follow either of these two orders. That's called marshalling. Arrangement of assets and liabilities in a particular order in the balance sheet. So, you write the meaning of grouping and marshalling also in your notebook. Okay, now is it clear the process of doing the balance sheet and which are the two orders. So, you have to read the formats, you have to be thorough with the items.